The Swiss call this cheese fromage d'alpage, which means cheese from the high mountain pastures. Master cheesemakers retreat to their chalets high in the Swiss Alps to make this special cheese. These individuals follow a tradition of cheesemaking that goes back to the Middle Ages. Fromage d'alpage is produced by cheesemakers who bring their cows high into the Alps for 5 months to this region of Gstaad, Switzerland. In the morning, they milk their cows for about 7 minutes using an automatic milking machine. Each cow produces around 10 liters of milk, which contains water, protein, and fat. "12 hours later, he removes the fat, which rises to the surface. He adds a starter culture, which helps preserve the milk. A wood fire then heats the milk for 20 minutes at a constant 30 degrees Celsius. He then adds an enzyme called rennet and more starter culture to the milk. After about 40 minutes, these active ingredients coagulate the milk into cheese curd. He cuts the solidifying curd into smaller pieces. To maintain an even heat, he keeps blending the curd and the liquid together. He continues mixing and cutting the curd until the active ingredients separate the curd from the liquid, called whey. To make cheese, he will use only the grains of curd. An electric mixer then completes the separation. He washes his arms and hands thoroughly because any impurities in the cheese would ruin it. After heating the mixture for 20 minutes again, the curd is now the perfect texture for making cheese. Using cheesecloth, they remove the grains of curd. What started out as 300 liters of milk will end up producing only 30 kilograms of cheese. The cheesemaker stuffs the sack of curd into a mold and works out some of the whey. He then puts 3 molds filled with curd into a wooden press. And using a wooden block that distributes the pressure evenly, he squeezes out more of the whey. To get all the excess liquid out of the curd, he turns each 10-kilogram piece of cheese over so he can press it again. Too much liquid in the cheese would affect its shape and quality, so he does this a few times, then leaves them in the press overnight. The next morning, he trims off the excess cheese created around the edge by the pressing mold. Like every step in this cheese-making process, this work is also done by hand. He soaks the cheese in salt water for 24 hours to conserve, harden, and intensify its taste. The cheese then goes through a salting and maturing process that lasts 6 months. During this time, they flip each piece of cheese often so it ages evenly. After a final surface cleaning, they put the 10-kilogram pieces on their sides to air dry. They'll remain edible for at least 10 years. But of course, you don't have to live in the Alps to enjoy the taste of Swiss cheese. When roller skates were invented by the Dutch in the 18th century, they put a whole new spin on skating. Before that, people could only skate on iced surfaces, so the sport had definite seasonal limitations. The wheels of those first roller skates were wooden spools, but today's manufacturers have come up with some better tricks to make them. Roller skates have improved by leaps and bounds. The wheels are made of strong, lightweight polyurethane, so there's nothing to hold you back. They start with the shoes. A die press punches out leather patterns called quarters, 4 per shoe. They place 1 quarter under a foil strip and a hot die stamps it with the manufacturer's trademark. Then, using a template, they mark the locations where components are to be sewn, such as these racing stripes. They stitch them onto the leather quarters in 2 rows. The 4 leather quarters have been partially pieced together. Here, the operator finishes the job, sewing the shoe's outer layer to the liner. She then stitches the rest of the liner to the shoe, while a little blade on the machine trims the excess leather. Now the roller skate shoe really takes shape as she folds the leather in 2 and sews the toe. This machine punches holes and inserts eyelets for the shoelaces. This machine, called a laster, glues the shoe to an insole. They insert a shoe and insole together into the laster. Its nozzles coat the toe of the insole with cement, while pinchers pull the leather around it. Then automated arms press the leather onto the insole, bonding them together. Another machine then nails the rest of the shoe around the insole, and a worker pounds them in further. A final laster folds the edge of the shoe around the heel and drives nails into it. The hot lights of this machine activate cement that's been applied to an outsole and the shoe body. This allows them to adhere. As the cement dries, this hydraulic machine presses the outsole to the shoe to aid the adhesion. They stitch the outsole to the shoe for reinforcement. After all, roller skate shoes have to hold up to the rigors of the sport. They insert nails into the holes of this heel attaching machine, then position a fiberboard and leather heel on it, followed by the roller skate shoe. Mechanical drivers thrust the nails up into the shoe, firmly attaching the heel. An operator then forces the rubber sole against a circular cutter to remove the excess material. Next, they screw a polyurethane toe stop into a skate frame. They drill through holes in the frame to make corresponding holes in the shoe. They push bolts into the holes. Then, using a pneumatic socket wrench, they bolt the skate frame to the shoe. The bolts are too long, so they cut them down to size with a special break-off tool. They slide polyurethane cushions onto kingpins, then install bearings in the hub of each wheel. A carousel conveyor delivers the wheel and bearings to a tool that presses them together. With the wheels now linked by axles, these skates are almost ready to roll. They mount each wheel assembly on a kingpin, then install a second cushion ring. These cushions can be adjusted by the skater to change the feel of the skate. A tweak to the axle confirms the wheels spin freely. It takes about 4 days for the experts to make a pair of roller skates. That's somewhat less time than it takes the average person to master using them. Colored pencils come in basic color packages for school children, upgraded sets for architects and other professionals, and elaborate collections of shades for the serious artist. It isn't so much the color variety that determines the quality, but the pigment concentration in the lead. The core of a colored pencil doesn't actually contain any lead. It's composed of pigments, minerals, and binding agents. This company invented a unique type of colored pencil. The lead composition is such that it allows you to brush on a bit of water after you draw to create the effect of watercolor paints. Colored pencils start with a combination of pigments. Every shade has a specific pigment recipe. They produce a large quantity of one shade at a time. Following that color's recipe, they meticulously weigh the different portions of ingredients. They boil a specific quantity of water and additives and add binding agents, a secret blend of gums, resins, or waxes. The ingredients expand in hot water, forming a paste. Workers then mix the pigments into this paste. The next machine processes the paste into fine chunks, intensifying the color. The chunks move by conveyor belt into a cylinder that compresses them, then feeds them into an extrusion machine. The extruder squeezes the paste in a continuous stream that is the diameter of the pencil lead. In a top-secret process, the next machine chops this long lead into pencil-length leads. But the leads can't write just yet. They're bathed in a vat filled with a mixture of chemical waxes. These waxes coat and impregnate the leads, in this case, red ones. Wax is a color delivery vehicle. As you write, it rubs off and adheres to the paper, taking pigment with it. With the leads now finished, the factory subjects random samples to quality control testing, including a break test and a durability test, in which each lead must yield 100 meters of writing. This company makes its pencil bodies from cedar wood. This machine carves grooves for the leads, then coats the surface with a thin layer of glue. The planks pass under a wheel that places the leads, then through another machine that slips a second grooved plank on top. The next machine carves the hexagonal shape, then slices the pencils apart. One at a time, the pencils shoot through a vat of colored varnish. Their exterior is now the same color as the lead inside. Once the varnish dries, a heat stamp burns the company name and color number into the wood, filling the lettering with colored film. Then the pencils roll across an abrasive wheel, sharpening as they go. The unsharpened end gets a cap of varnish, either in white or the same shade as the pencil lead. The factory's equipment feeds the appropriate colors to the packaging area. As the pencils slide into their grooved tray, workers visually inspect each and every one. From pigments and planks to an artistic medium. The story behind the making of colored pencils is hardly black and white.